Hello and welcome to the latest episode of my Knitting and Creative podcast. My name on Instagram is Orchid's Heart and I live in Birmingham in England. And it's finally proper summer. It's early in the morning, it's before work, it's before breakfast. I haven't been up very long, so apologies if I'm a little bit ditzy. I have my first morning coffee to have with you guys this morning whilst we have a chat, and I thought I would record a little podcast. I am doing this on a different setup. I have a new phone, well, new to me phone, and I'm doing it on the ordinary camera, not the selfie camera, because the quality is better in theory, so I'm giving it a go. I don't know how this is going to come out. I do have a mirror behind it, so I can kind of see what's going on. It's a bit distracting because I can see myself better in the mirror than the reflection of the phone screen because it's so sunny. But yes, I'm downstairs because bin summer has completely come in full swing. It's now unbearably hot in the whole house except downstairs. So this is when I love having a really high ceiling open living room because it just stays cool in here all year round. But yes, I hope everybody is well. I am about halfway through my work week this week. I have a short week because this weekend we are going to John Arbon's open mill, so that's really exciting. I'm really looking forward to that. I don't know if this video will go up before or after, but I will talk about it in the next episode because I don't want this one to get too long, and it probably will. Because the warmer it gets, the harder my computer copes with processing the videos to like edit them and put them online. So yeah, anyway. Coffee's still too hot. So what do I have to share with you today? I've decided not to share all of my knitting that I'm doing at the moment because some of them are not active whips, some of them are socks that I'm halfway through, and I may as well show them to you when they're finished because I've finished like one sock, so showing you a finished sock of two different pairs and then showing you the finished pair is like showing you the same thing twice. So I've decided to hold those back, but I do have one pair of finished socks to share with you today. But I won't start with that. I will start with maybe my most interesting finished object, and that is my mostly blocked but not entirely Tegna. So this is one of those things where I do need to kind of have a look at what you guys can see. Do you think you can see that? So I made this using Viola Yarns fingering weight, but actually it was like quite a heavy fingering weight yarn in the colourway Slate. I only had 2 skeins, and it said that you needed something like 800 yards to knit my size, which was the second size, and like 798. No, so you needed 800 yards and I had 798 or something silly, like I had 2 yards less than the required amount. I did have some yarn left over, but let's see if I can show you. Not very much. This is all. So I'm quite pleased. I'm not 100% happy with the neckline. So I'm a little bit confused because I have already recorded this video once and not shared it with you. So I think when I recorded it last time, rather than in the one that I actually published, I showed you the neckline, and the neckline I'd done was really wonky and really tight. I did redo it and it is better, but in the picture it's got this really relaxed open neckline. The only thing is I am worried because it's superwash yarn, it would stretch out. So I was a little bit on the conservative side when I did the neckline. Like I didn't pick up many stitches as I could have, I think. So let me think. I can't actually tell which sleeve was blocked. So one sleeve was blocked and the other one wasn't. Actually, in the mirror it looks quite nice. Maybe the shorter sleeve is the one that's not been blocked. Yeah, I think that's probably right. Because superwash yarn, obviously when it's blocked it grows a bit. So I think it's a bit drapier on this side than this side. Let me stand up so you can see the bottom. It actually feels quite nice with this. I might keep it on. I haven't snipped my ends, so you might see some ends in places. I can feel ends. So it's a drop shoulder, simple tee, which you knit bottom up. The lace is at the bottom, so if you go wrong on the lace, you can do it again, which is what I quite liked about it. And I've had this on my queue for years. I actually saw it quite early on when I was learning to knit, and I couldn't really knit. And I saw it and I had it on my list, and I probably bought the pattern when I was just starting to learn. But it's taken me a while to get around to knitting it because it is a summer top, and I don't wear summer tops as much as I do obviously my thick jumpers, because this is quite a cold place. But yeah, I thought maybe it could be quite good to wear in the lead up to summer. I do wonder if I've kind of missed the optimum time, because it'd be too warm to wear this to work and too warm to wear this outside at the moment, because it is in the high 20s, almost 30. But then we might be having a heat wave. It's not normal for England to be consistently high 20s for the whole summer, so it might cool down a little bit. Equally, this could be quite a nice thing to throw in my bag to wear over something sleeveless in the evening, kind of like I've done now. I might leave it on. I am worried that it will wear not very well, that it will bobble a lot, because it is superwash yarn. I don't knit garments in superwash yarn very often, and that's not like a judgment thing. It's just the properties of 100% pure wool I really like. I like the fact that it's harder wearing. I like the fact that it holds its shape and bounces back better. I like that it's got those antimicrobial properties. For me, it's warmer, so I don't tend to wear superwash yarn. Primarily, I think the warmth aspect, because it's not as warm, but that's why I thought for a summer garment it'd be better, because if it's not as warm, then there's more of a chance I can wear it. So yeah, it might look cool over a long sleeve stripy top. That's how I tend to wear my other short sleeve knits, but we'll see. If I'm honest, if I wear this to work at the moment, it's likely that I will put it on my way to work, get to work and take it off. That's pretty much what happened yesterday with my cardigan. But I think it would be a nice work item. Let's cool down a bit now. There's nothing better than that first cup of coffee in the morning. If I ever had to give up coffee, I'd be devastated. So that's my first finished object. Yeah, so I am going to keep hold of these scraps in case I need to redo something. Oh, that's actually something I should have said. I did my first sewn tubular bind off on the sleeves. And this is going to be a test to try to see if I can show you. See, I don't know if this is auto-focusing or not. I'm going to have to rewatch this video before I share it online, in case it's truly terrible in terms of focus and stuff, because I really have no idea. So yeah, I did my first sewn bind off because I did my normal Jenny super stretchy bind off and it looked terrible. There's something about it being in this superwash wool, it being like a narrow cuff, it just looked dreadful. I do normally use it and think it looks okay. I don't know why it looked so bad. And I did want to say, for anybody like me that has been really putting off learning how to do the sewn tubular bind off, it wasn't that bad. People talk about it being like really difficult, taking ages, and I've just been terrified to do it because I think I tried to do it once on a hat for my partner and I messed it up and it went incredibly wrong and it looked awful. And at that point I wasn't very confident at ripping back or correcting and dropping back and correcting stitches. But if you have a vague grasp on Kitchener stitch, or like Kitchener stitch doesn't terrify you, because I've gotten to the point now where I don't like Kitchener stitch, but I've kind of got the motions, you know, I'm going to get this the wrong way around, but you knit through the front, take it off, purl through the front, leave it on, purl through the back, take it off, knit through the back, leave it on, knit through the front, take it off, purl through the back, leave it on. So if you finish with a purl in the front, you start with a purl in the back. If you finish with a knit in the front, you start with a knit in the back. And you always take the first one off, leave the second one on. And so I've kind of got that rhythm in my head now. I do have to sit and think about it, and I can't watch TV at the same time, but it's a bit easier. And so it's a very similar rhythm with this, with the sewn tubular bind off. So I do recommend, if you're not totally terrified by Kitchener stitch, you know, it is really stretchy, so I would definitely do it again. So yeah, I am going to keep my scraps. I'll put them in a jar with scraps for something else, just in case I need to redo the neckline. I'll probably give it a few months, and if I'm happy with it and it doesn't stretch out too much, I mean, I think it's probably going to be okay looking at it, to be honest. Then I will put them in my, I've got some scraps for a colourful superwash shawl in like moody colours. It could go in there. It might be useful for something. So the next, this isn't a finished object, it's like an altered object. I think I shared a few months ago that I was working on adjusting some of my knits to fit better, mostly socks, but it also included this tank top. So this is the Ripple Bralette by Jessie Maid. Sorry, my hair gets on everything. It's annoying me. She like in it. So it's a bottom up pattern, and I knit this in Fine Sock by Life in the Long Grass. I think the colour is Sea Glass or something like that. And this is another one of those kind of moody speckled colours. So I'm not big into variegated yarn. I will say I'm not big into variegated superwash yarn, but actually there is a little bit of that in my knitting today. This is one of those, and so is this. But I quite like those like speckled, slightly moody kind of colours, like this and this, so I am drawn to that. But so I knit this last year, and when I knit it before, this 1x1 rib section was only a couple of rows long, and it's, if you haven't knit one of these before, it's deceptive. When you first finish knitting it, it doesn't look like this, it's much longer and thinner. And then as you wear it, it stretches out, and obviously if something stretches out widthways, it gets shorter. So even though I knit mine longer than it's specified in the pattern, it kind of ended up only being, I'm just checking you can see my hand in the mirror, I don't know if you can or not, it only ended up really coming to just under my bust, like a bra. And that's kind of what it is meant to be. It's meant to be like a crop top, like bra top, but I wanted it to be a tank top. I've seen Cat Weaver, Heather and Hops wearing them a lot as tank tops, and because I'm quite flat chested, I can actually get away with wearing one without a bra. So it is quite nice when it's warmer but not baking hot, because it is knitted, wearing one without a bra underneath, just like as a tank top. But this was too short. I did actually feel like I was going out in my underwear, and so I did wear it as underwear. But then in the winter I could feel like that cold patch between where that ended and the top of whatever I was wearing underneath, my trousers or skirt or leggings or whatever. So I went through the rather laborious, but not as bad as I thought it was going to be, process of picking up the stitches at the bottom of the 3x3 rib, and then cutting the 1x1 rib off, and then unknitting like the last row or two, and picking it back up, and then knitting some more 1x1 rib, and then binding off with Jenny's super stretchy bind off, because at that point I hadn't learned how to do this one. So yeah, it went fine. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. When you are picking up from, so because it was bottom up, I was unknitting from the wrong direction, which is a little bit faffier. You can't just pull it and it will come out. You have to actually like unpick it. So it did take quite a while. But I think it was really worth it, because it took me a long time to knit this, because I find knitting rib quite tedious. So it did take a long time to actually knit it. So I'm really glad that I took the time then to make it more wearable for me. And I did take some pictures to make a reel. I know I said I've been meaning to make a reel about the stretchy edge on my shawl for a while. I think at some point I'm going to sit down and do both and have them on my phone and then just release them as and when. Because it was doable. Probably better for somebody who is confident correcting their mistakes. But equally, if you're not wearing an item, then what have you got to lose? I don't know. So I'm quite pleased I did that. Have some more coffee. I am finding it really strange filming this way, not being able to see. I'm not sure how much I enjoy it. Or whether my eyes are just darting everywhere. We shall have to see how it ends up coming out. It's harder to make eye contact with something that you can't see. Is that strange? I'm not sure. I also don't know if I'm putting all the weirdest facial expressions in the world. So forgive me because I don't know if I've shared this as a finished object or not, because I don't know if I shared it in the last one I didn't share with you or the last one I did. But it's a small one, so I'm going to share it just in case. So when I was in Norfolk, I bought a skein of Kinross 4-ply. I think in the colour Scots Pine, from what I can remember. But Scots Pine might have been the green colour that I wanted. So I don't have a label with me to check. But it's like a teal petrol colour. And I bought this because Rebecca from the Crow Bear podcast goes on about how incredibly soft this comes out when blocked. And they had some colours there. And I was on like a work trip and I wanted a treat. And it's £9.50 in that shop for a 50-gram skein. So I thought I'd buy one skein and make myself something small. And so I made a Sophie Scarf. So this one is between the two sizes. And it used just under half. So I actually think I'm going to make another one and I'll explain why. So I don't think I like the way it looks on me. If I tie it once, I think it looks silly. If I tie it twice, I don't think it's quite long enough. I think it could just do with maybe like a little bit more. I don't know, maybe it is long enough. Basically I'm really struggling to wear it, so if anybody has any tips on how to wear it and not look like a bit of a muppet, let me know. Maybe it's something that just doesn't suit me, I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know, what do you think? Obviously it's probably the wrong time of year. I did take it with me to Paris because when I was in Paris it was very chilly in the mornings and then really hot during the day, and I guess that's why I'd quite like something like this. Equally, I might take it on holiday when we go on holiday this weekend camping, because I feel like it could still be quite chilly early in the morning. And it is incredibly, incredibly soft. However, providing it still looks practically brand new after I've taken it away, I am probably going to give this one to my mother. If it does look like I've been wearing it, I won't. She won't mind anyway, but I wanted to give it to her as part of a Christmas present. I will knit her the second one, but I think the second one I'm either going to knit a bit shorter or a bit longer, so let me know what you think is a better one for wearing, because my mum tends to wear these in the house to keep warm, less as like a fashion accessory, so I don't think she'll mind what length she gets. But I know she loves the yarn because she was here when I was knitting on it. She really liked it. She wanted to steal it, as is the way when I always knit something. And so I think she would really like it. And I made her that red one for Christmas out of the Petite Lamb's Wool by Biche and Bouche, which is not drapey at all. It's quite stiff because I held it double, and she really liked it. So I think she would really like this one. So I think it'd be a good either birthday present, because her birthday's in August, so ahead of the autumn, or to go in her Christmas present, I'm not sure. But it's just so drapey and lovely. I Would love to knit something else with this. I don't know what. It's quite fine. I'm not sure I'd want to knit a jumper with it unless it was held double. But that maybe could get quite expensive. It's not the most expensive. I mean, 100 grams would be £18. So, you know, I guess that's probably what I end up paying for nice yarn. I had a bit of a heated discussion with my mother about spending money on yarn. And it's like a dialogue that I don't really understand. Every time she sees what I'm knitting on, she's like, oh, I really love the yarns you pick, the colours you pick, the textures you pick. You're really good at picking yarns. And I say, yeah, it's really important to me where I buy the yarn from, as much as possible, the ethics of it, the quality of it, etc. You know, this is my main hobby, knitting. I don't drink a lot. I do go out and eat, but maybe not as much as most. I don't go shopping. I don't buy lots of new shoes. I don't spend lots of money on clothes. It's actually been quite a long time since I've bought fabric, to be honest. So I've not even spent much money on sewing lately. I do spend quite a lot of money on knitting, but that's my luxury. That's my hobby. That's actually what I spend most of my free time doing. So it doesn't bother me, because it's not just the buying of the yarn, it's the process of knitting it, enjoying it. And I think it's really important, if you can and you want to, and it is important to you, to support small companies doing nice things, good things for the environment. You know, I like buying a veg box, not every week because I can't always afford it, but when I can, because I like the things that those companies are doing for the earth, for, you know, like positive farming. I don't always like supporting other things are more destructive, but obviously sometimes you have to because you don't always have the money. But so for me, it's a bigger question than just spending lots of money on yarn. And she was like, well, I would like to knit one of these. Can you help me choose a yarn? And I said, well, I'm going to John Arbon next week, so I could pick you up a skein or a 50-gram skein of something there. It would be about £15, I think, or £18 for a 50-gram skein of this beautiful alpaca lace weight that you could use, or something. I think it's like a heavy lace weight or a sport weight or something. And she was like, no, that's too expensive, and bought something else that was really cheap, and wonders why her project comparatively looks cheaper. And I was like, well, that's because you spent £10, not £18. And obviously it's not about the money, but it is about the quality of what you're getting. And I just don't understand how someone can buy a jumper from the shop that's made of pure wool for £80 and think that that's fair because it's a wool jumper, which it is, but then won't knit herself a wool scarf for anything more than like a £5 or £10. So anyway, that's my rant. I don't get it. But I will knit her one out of this, and it'll make her happy, and she'll love it because I've knit it and because she likes the yarn. And maybe one day she'll understand where I'm coming from. I don't know. But if you agree with me or disagree with me, I mean, everyone can have their own opinions. I am in a position at the moment where I can invest in my craft, and I'm happy to do so. So she can too. She chooses not to. That's her decision. The exasperation of then her saying, oh, but yours looks nicer than mine. It's like, yes, it does. You're a better knitter than I am. It's not about that. I might cut that rant out, we'll see. But yes, so I have one more finished object. The other thing about filming this way is I can't see how long I've been talking for, which is a little bit frustrating because I don't know whether I need to keep it in check or not. I have one more finished object, one revisited whip that you've not seen for a while, and some dyeing, and one acquisition. So I think I shared these in progress the other day. So this is my first pair of Mohair held with something socks. So I had some leftovers of a merino cashmere nylon blend by Olann Mills, who don't exist anymore, and I used them to make a pair of socks like this. These are quite worn. I mean, they're nowhere near wearing through, but I really found with the cashmere blend that, and this is going to be one of those things where I have no idea if you're going to see this or not, like, I think the cashmere just sort of like piles on top on the inside, and you end up with like all of this fluff shedding, which is a bit grim. And I kind of feel like, have I paid all that money for cashmere blend socks and it's the cashmere that comes out? I don't know, because this doesn't happen to my merino nylon blend socks. It does happen to my alpaca blended socks, and I wonder if it's the same thing, like the fine soft fibre just kind of wears off because it's a shorter staple. I mean, I have no idea if that's true. If anybody does know like the science behind that, please do tell me. Because the bottom ends up looking a little bit less fancy. Like, not as, looks more like a plain merino nylon blend and less like, I don't know, the rest of the sock. So I was a little bit disappointed, and I've not bought a merino cashmere nylon blend sock since, because it just bubbled so much. I don't know if you can see that or not. Just so bubbly and not very attractive. But I had half a skein left, so I decided that I would, and a skein of random mohair, so I decided to knit some with mohair. And I didn't have quite enough of either really, the mohair or the main yarn. So on this one, I got to about here and started fading into a similar coloured plain yarn by John Arbon, their Exmoor sock, in the colour Bibblebug. It's that same like dusty purple colour. So I don't know, you might be able to see that the toe has got a little bit less variegation in it. And then this one, I thought I would stripe the main yarn from about here onwards with the John Arbon, so that you got the variegation all the way through. I did actually run out of the mohair about here, so then you have like a change in mohair. I did also discover when I was recording this the other day that I think they're two different sizes. I don't think I've knit them the same. Like, one's quite a bit shorter than the other in the leg and the foot. But when I've got them on, you can't really tell. I'm not really bothered. But I will say, if you've not knit a pair of socks holding a strand of mohair with your sock yarn, do it. I was really sceptical about the idea of having such fluffy socks, but they do feel absolutely divine. And I think I finished them in May, and I have worn them a couple of times in bed. They're not sweaty at all. I thought they'd be sweaty because they were fluffy, but I've really enjoyed wearing them, and I will definitely knit more in the future. And so I did still knit them on quite dense needles, 2.25. I normally do 2mm, and I actually have a feeling that I accidentally knit the toes on, or at least one of them, I knit the toes on 2mm, so that might be part of the reason my one's come out a bit shorter than the other, because I picked up the wrong DPNs to do the toes. Yeah, one looks a bit denser than the other. So, I mean, they are a bit of a hot mess in terms of sizing, but socks stretch out when they're on your feet, so it's not a big deal. And actually having a dense toe isn't a bad thing for durability. But because of the mohair, they should be even stronger, so that's great. I do have some natural nylon-free sock yarn from Woolly Mammoth that I started knitting a pair of socks with, but I kind of fell out in love with. I wasn't really enjoying the feel of the yarn. So I might buy a silk mohair to go with it and start those again, and maybe that'll be a more pleasurable knit. I don't know. It was the Hearth base. For me it was just a bit stringy. I didn't really enjoy it. Lots of other people have though, so don't let it put you off. It was just like a plain brown sock, and I think it was too much plain for me. Right, my only whip I'm going to share with you today, because other whips I'm working on, I've got 2 pairs of socks on the go, and my colour craze shawl. My colour craze shawl is on pause. I've just finished this, and my socks, like I said, I'm going to show you another time. So I started this, I think, in February or March, and then put it down for quite a while. So this is the Lento. I can't remember the name of the person that designed it. And I am knitting mine, sorry, I have no idea. I'm knitting mine in a couple of yarns. So it's another inspired by Rebecca of Crayabea. I'm knitting mine predominantly in these 3 yarns. So I was given these 2 as a present ages ago. A very lovely knitter in France, and they're a French yarn. I think the company is called Boucle Laine. And this one I believe has some Angora in it. I think both of them have some alpaca in. I mean, this one has some hairs, you can really see. Now, the Lento pattern is good because you only need 2 skeins of 4-ply yarn and a strand of mohair. I didn't buy mohair, but for my birthday I was given some money to spend on yarn, so I bought 2 skeins of dye to order Suri by Nervus Fibre. I think this is the colour Eadaz. To be honest, I don't know how you say it. And I chose it because I really thought it had all of the colours of these 2 in there and some others. And because I was right on the edge of having enough yardage, I also had this in my stash. This is leftover from my minimalist cable cardigan, and it's the yarn Lore by the Fibre Company. This was a gifted yarn from them for that cardigan. And this is a yarn that if I would love to buy again, and well, buy because I didn't buy it last time, and knit something else in the future. This is one of those yarns which maybe is a bit expensive, but I really enjoyed knitting with it, like really enjoyed knitting with it, and I really love the way it felt when it blocked. So I would love to knit something else in the future. It was really good for cables. I really enjoyed it. And so this is how far I've got. I've decided to do a split hem on the bottom, so I've done the back and I just need to do the front. I might undo the bind off and make it longer, I don't know, but at the moment for me it's quite long because I tend to do cropped jumpers and I think this does come past my hips, so I am a bit worried about having enough yarn to do the sleeves. But I think this will be okay, and then I can always have a slightly longer cuff if I need to. So I'm just doing 10 rows of each colour. I was carrying the strands down the back, which I haven't done the best job of, so you might be able to see. Now the stripes are really subtle because the colours are so similar. And the Suri does blend it together, but I think I kind of have slightly like cozy ugly jumper vibes about it, because I'm not totally convinced by the combination of the dark green with it. I think it might have been better if it was all in these yarns, but I wasn't sure I'd have enough. But because of how soft it feels, I think that in the autumn and winter I will wear this loads. Though I really love my Lopi jumpers in the evenings over my pyjamas, and if I'm feeling like a bit like I want to wear something cozy and soft when I'm working from home, I don't really have anything that fits that. I have a nice cardigan that does, but not like a squishy jumper, so I think that this will be quite good for that. Like if you do have a bit of bare arm underneath. So yeah, I've just got to do the sleeves and then the front hem. And then it shall be done. So I'm hoping to get that finished soon, because it's been sitting in the back of my room for a while. I've been feeling a bit bad. I also have my east wind on the go. I would quite like to knit the last panel of that. I think I'm running out of mohair and I'm struggling to find something that colour matches, to be honest. So that's stressing me out quite a lot. What are we at time wise? I'm going to have a look at the camera and see. Okay, we're doing okay. It says 35 minutes, so that's fine. So I can share with you my one acquisition and my little dyeing project. I'll start with the dyeing project. So I have been trying to find woad, grow woad, dye with woad for years. I thought I could find it in the wild, never did. Realise now that I probably wouldn't have gotten a good result anyway. Tried to grow it last year in a container, didn't work. However, my mother-in-law also tried to grow woad and it didn't really work last year, but this year her plant exploded. So I got really excited, and I will probably at some point share some footage of dyeing with woad. Maybe I did it just now, maybe I did it at the start, maybe I'll do it at the end. And it was really lovely, but it resulted in practically no colour. I'll put a picture here, if I remember, of what it looked like. It was a complete disaster. And that's because you need to have first year woad leaves, not second year woad leaves, because the pigment isn't as strong in the second year as the first. So it was a disaster. So I over dyed them instead with onion skins, and I ended up with this gorgeous colour. So this is Jacob's yarn by West Yorkshire Spinner, DK. I always say it's quite a plump DK. And I have 2 skeins dyed in yellow with onion skins, and I'm sad it's not blue, to be honest. I was hoping it'd be blue with the woad, but it's not. So I am probably going to put these up for sale in my Ko-fi shop, because I have lots of naturally dyed yellow yarn, because yellow is one of my favourite colours, but I'm not going to use this anytime soon, and I could dye more in the future if I needed to. So I thought if anybody would like some, one person really, I'm going to put it in like a lot together. If anybody would like 2 skeins of yellow naturally dyed yarn, dyed in Suffolk in England with onion skins on a beautiful summer's day, then you are welcome to have a look in my Ko-fi shop for this. But I'm sorry, it's just 2 skeins. One of them, the one that had some of the woad, has some very, very slight variegation, but if I'm honest, I don't think it's really noticeable. So you might want to stripe the skeins. I wouldn't bother. It depends how fussy you are. I kind of feel that with naturally dyed yarns, they're never going to be exactly the same, but I think the colour on these is actually incredibly close. So yeah. And I find with onion skins, the colour does actually hold really well. These are mordanted. You don't need to mordant for woad, but I did anyway because I'm overcautious. So these were mordanted, so they should hold the colour really well. So yeah. And then the last thing I'm going to share today, I went to Paris after the last podcast. And I met up with a friend who knits. Her name is Sylvia Knits in Colour on YouTube, and not on Instagram, but something else on Instagram. And we went to some yarn shops in Paris. Now, if I'm honest, I don't think Paris is the best place for yarn shopping, at least not for my tastes. It is better suited for my friend Sylvia because of Labiana May and Lil Weasel. It's lots of brightly coloured superwash yarns. If you like bright colours, it's really, really good. For the rustic, grungy colour lovers among us, it's not as great. There was a yarn shop out in beyond Paris in the west on the way to Nanterre, which sounded like it was quite interesting, but it was a bit of a pain in the butt to get to, and we had no idea if it would be open or not when we got there, so we didn't go, we ran out of time. But it might have just been big brands that it sold. But I mean, Inga from Knitting Traditions went a few weeks ago, and I think she did actually put some clips in of different yarn shops, so maybe she's worth a watch if you're interested in yarn shopping in Paris. But I think I went to all the ones she went to, and then maybe one more. We went to Lil Weasel, La Tricoteurs Volants, I don't know if you say that's how you say it or not, and La Droguerie, and we went somewhere else. I can't remember what it was called. Or I went somewhere else on my own, I'm not sure. I actually can't remember at this stage. This is why it's bad to leave it so long for podcasting. But at the one I just butchered the pronunciation of, I did buy a skein of this. So this is a pure wool from Normandy. It has a bit of an unusual, like, I think it looks a little bit unusual in terms of it's got quite a loose spin, maybe that's what it is. And it's in this kind of beige white colour. And it's a sport weight, it's 260 metres for 100 grams. And it wasn't expensive, I think it was €12. And I only bought one because I have quite a lot of undyed, natural, browny yarns at the moment. I knit a cowl out of some that I bought in America, but I'm not enjoying the cowl in that yarn, so I'm probably going to rip it out. So I have over 200 grams of a really nice brown grey. I have this. I have some leftover charcoal and grey Gotland wool blend by Fibre Tales, and I have then like some naturally dyed green, and I think I'm going to knit the Ovis, I think it's called, sweater by Petite Knit, but I'm going to have to modify it because I don't have enough white for the yoke, so maybe I won't do as much colour work, or I'll do more, I'll do something different. I might make it a cardigan, or I might just make it a cropped jumper. It will be a major gamble with yarn, but it's top down, so I think it's okay. But yeah, I think it'd be really lovely and a really nice way to use up all of those precious leftovers in those earthy colours. So I'm actually really excited to knit it, and I'd quite like to cast it on right now, but it's a very wintry woolly item, and I kind of feel like I should maybe finish off what I'm working on at the moment and maybe stick to some more summery knits whilst it's still quite spring-like and summery. Like, I have quite a few colourful shawls I'd like to knit, like a silk tank top I want to knit, and all of those things make more sense to do right now because then I might actually get to wear them before the season ends if I start soon. So the problem is I've done this before where I've put off casting something on that fills me with excitement because of the season, and this is what happened with my no nylon brown socks by Winwick Mum at the fibre company. When I went to then actually start knitting them, the desire to knit them had gone. So I don't know, maybe I should just cast it on. I feel like if I knit the yoke, the colourwork yoke, and then put it down for a bit, then maybe it'd be okay. Because I've picked this up again after quite a while of leaving it, and it is all plain knitting that's left, and the fact that I have a half done jumper is what's motivating me to finish it. So maybe. We'll see. You'll see next time whether I've cast on the sensible summer top or the colourwork winter jumper. We'll see. Because really I do need to work on my east wind jacket. There's loads left to do. But yeah, that's what I'm working on at the moment. I did a lot of work as well on my quilt, but it's gone to my mum at the moment because she's going to whip stitch the border down for me. But maybe I will share about that in another episode, because yeah, it was a lot of work, but I really enjoyed it. What else have I say? Oh, I have decided if people would be interested, I'm going to have a go at doing one of those Ask Me Anything episodes. Whether it'll be an episode or a segment, I don't know. So within reason, if you have any questions that you've wondered about or want to ask, then stick them in the comments, and depending on how many I get, I maybe will do a thing in the next episode or the one after. We'll see how exciting John Arbon and our holiday away is, and whether that takes up too much time in the next episode or not. But yeah, if you ask me anything too personal, I probably won't answer it. But you know, if there is something you want to ask, feel free to ask, and I will answer if I want to. Yeah, and that's everything. I hope everyone's doing well. I probably need to go have some breakfast and log on to start work, so I will talk to you soon. Have a lovely day. Goodbye.